How Women Rise by Marshall Goldsmith and Sally Helgesen. This is the second book I'm reviewing in a row about how women get ahead, which has literally never happened before. If it were like 5 books in a row, I think I'd be scratching my head a little, in all honesty, because I never talk about the same topic for 3 books in a row, but it makes me wonder how the books are different. The previous one was the Confidence Code, but writing down the chapter names of this one, I think they won't have all that much in common, and I hope to reveal how throughout, or maybe later on in this review. And just a little overview of what you will see in the description, in case my camera starts shaking. We just got a new kitten and he is more of a handful than we thought he would be. Just a little overview of what you'll see in the description. There are affiliate links, and if you buy anything through those links, like maybe this book, then I get commission, which helps me build this channel and keep making these videos. You can also find this book and many others on my Amazon storefront, a link to that, as well as every other book that I've mentioned in this video. Chances are I have reviewed them, and I will drop those in the description too. So affiliate links, Amazon storefront, and other reviews. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sam, and I want to make self-growth normal, because people shouldn't have to look this information up. It should just be mainstream knowledge. If you agree, then please make sure to smash that like button. So this book had a bunch of different chapters. There are 3, if I'm not mistaken, 3 different parts. The 12 habits that they talk about are in the second part. Part 1 is called On Being Stuck. They talk about how the book came to be here, and they gave examples of women in the habits of the book and how it held them back. And I suppose they did this in the beginning just to tell us that this stuff is real and it does happen. Hearing it myself, I figured it's probably true, but I and a lot of other men probably do things like this as well. And when I've done these things, it has held me back from success. So it would make sense from that angle. Like if you took women out of the whole equation of what this book was and what it was meant to be, and you checked out just general books on success, like, I don't know, the 10X rule or You Are a Badass, just kind of the basics. You'll find a lot of dichotomies presenting what makes someone successful or unsuccessful, and habits like these in the book, you might see a little bit in there. But as the authors state, they don't see most of these behaviors as being particularly problematic for most women. Sometimes yes, but not all that often, and you do get glimpses of that just kind of reminder throughout the book, but other ones tend to be more gender neutral. So here are the 12 habits, they say, that keep women from reaching their goals. Habit number 1 is reluctance to claim your achievements. Based on who's narrating, I'm guessing that the first maybe 25% of the book was written by Helgesen and the rest was written by Goldsmith. I was wrong about this. They kind of played leapfrog with the habits, and Helgesen read one and then Goldsmith read the other, and they switched off. I think Goldsmith's way of explaining things, it's a lot more simplistic and comprehensible, and I think it caters to a different set of ears. Not that that's a bad thing. I mean, it's based on both of their studies, but this habit was about not taking credit out of disinterest in tooting one's own horn. The woman in the first example has a habit of taking compliments as a way to deflect credit, so she tried to get in the habit of accepting credit, which eventually would have helped add to her credibility. Habit 2 is expecting others to spontaneously notice and reward your contributions. The crux of this chapter included having a clear, memorized mission statement so you can evaluate whether an opportunity really serves you or not. Creating an elevator pitch can mark you as a sort of serious player, worth watching, and help you avoid the habit of trying not to be noticed. The men who get ahead fast from day one, something that they noticed in the research is that they will talk loudly, constantly, about how they plan to rise in the organization. Habit 3 is overvaluing expertise. He said that women tend to overvalue expertise because they often are uncomfortable being recognized for their achievements. Kudos to the authors, by the way, for overlapping these in with each other. The first 2, I think, were quite similar, but I had faith in this book, and I feel like for the most part it did deliver. Habit 4 is building rather than leveraging relationships. I imagined this was a pretty big one because it's such a crucial concept in business. The authors wondered why women don't benefit more from building morale and empathetic listening. Organizations value building relationships highly as a leadership skill. The thing is that the women they studied, not true about all women, even slightly. Like many of these. Again, I'm just listening and learning here. So if you see me talking about this and you're like, this dude's sexist or anything, this is just observations. This is just from the book, okay? I can't stress that enough. So like many other habits in the book, this is not true about all women, even slightly. And there were disclaimers throughout the book about this. For anyone who says they just sound like a bunch of generalizations, they tend to be less skilled or less reluctant to leverage relationships. So it sounds like using relationships strategically to further your own ambitions. You might want others not to think you're using them. Political gains might not be your thing, or you don't want to be self-serving, but they said leveraging relationships is crucial to success, and most great careers are built on not just talent and hard work, but the mutual exchange of benefits, which comes naturally to many men. Not most of us. A lot of us suck at it, honestly. Habit 5 is failing to enlist allies from day one. So much of this book, whether the authors realize it or not, kind of sounds as if they like reverse engineered the success of men and successful women and used it to lay out this guide of sort of what to do and what not to do. What scares me a little about a book like this, which may not be 100% plausible, is that when successful women apply the habits they need to and the habits they don't, and the same goes for the opposite, I imagine it would make sense to say the same thing happens with successful men versus unsuccessful men. And if that's the case, what's the point, for lack of a better word, of pinning the whole set of habits on women? It's not a flaw in the book, it's just something that comes to mind that I suppose I'd be a bit concerned about. I'd love to hear the author's takes on this. I'm sure they have a very good explanation. The only one I can really say makes sense so far is that their research revolved primarily around women and their work performances. Habit 6 is putting your job before your career. What makes this habit so dangerous is an attachment to being loyal. When you're so focused on, I've been here for so long, especially in tandem with the other habits like not taking enough credit for your own work or leveraging relationships, it doesn't paint enough of a compelling picture for the higher ups to be like, you know what, Margot deserves a 6,000% raise. 6,000% raise for Margot. You go, Margot. The perfection trap is habit 7, and something I like in this chapter is that they mentioned was how perfectionists tend to not delegate well, because it shows an inability to prioritize. They highlighted a woman named, well, honestly, it doesn't even matter what her name was because it's a different name in the book than it is in real life for confidentiality purposes. This woman was what they called, though, a healthy perfectionist, saying that she knows how to prioritize and delegate. A lot of these habits, men do them too. So it's kind of like, it really sort of just hinges on their research, but I mean, any women who have checked this book out, please let me know your thoughts on this whole thing. Habit 8 is the disease to please. This is pretty self-explanatory, but I also like how they explained that it comes from the need to be indispensable to people. And they also make sure to touch upon how it affects one's life at home, which they didn't do much of in this book, but I don't really... Cheeto just knocked down an entire industrial light. I should probably take care of this. What really hit me though was this part. Contemporary culture has evolved the most labor-intensive style of mothering the world has ever seen, a level of involvement in children's lives that is without precedent. What's baffling and ironic is that this has occurred at precisely the same time that women have entered the workplace in significant numbers and begun to achieve high positions. Habit 9 is minimizing. Minimizing is like making things you say sound like they're not that big of a deal, like the word just or a little. If I could just have a moment of your time. I guess people associate it with a lack of confidence and self-importance. That's just a guess. These words they're reflexes, if anything, as Goldsmith explained, and they may have helped at some point, but they will undermine you as you reach higher by making it impossible to, as he said, manifest or enjoy serenity or power. Habit 10 is called too much. This revolves around extremity of emotion, such as coming on too strong or being too intense. This comes down, as you could probably guess, to a double standard. It's a too much, not enough divide. It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't conundrum that plagues women. I've heard about this more and more the older I've gotten. And it becomes more problematic as one moves up to a higher level, but it can also add as an extra burden that makes you feel like you don't belong. It totally sucks. But a general idea that Helgesen explained is that when you're very upset, speaking without thinking first about the consequences of it, it's probably not a good idea. Something that stood out to me from this chapter is that when she said on average women speak 20,000 words a day and men speak 7,000. Depends on a lot of things, I'm in sales and I have a YouTube channel. I talk probably 5 to 7 times more than my wife on a daily basis, at least, and it drives her probably crazy. But habit 11 is ruminating. This is basically clinging to the past. If you do this, you spend a lot of time reliving what's already happened before, trying to understand what went wrong, but at some point it begins to undermine you and hurt your ability to rise. I love how they kept using this word rise. It really brings the title home. But women have been found to do this in the studies more than men. Goldsmith explained where the word ruminate came from, and it's very evolutionary animal roots, which was cool. But I like how he related this all back to the way humans behave. It was just so eloquent. But in fact, there's a little protein to be extracted from the well-chewed more cells of self-contempt that you, as a human ruminant, keep coming up with. Lastly, habit 12 is letting your radar distract you. They focused a bit more than I thought they would in the whole book on, not that this is a problem really, general differences between women and men. I think they did a fantastic job of empathizing with the reader and saying, look, you might be able to come up with examples of this from your own life, but it is normal. A lot of women feel the same way and they do it for X or Y reason. However, like, this is something I felt was lacking in the Confidence Code greatly, as it was extremely, that book was extremely research heavy. This book was more translational and comprehensible, which I appreciate a lot as a reviewer because I imagine it's easier for most to appreciate as consumers. And lastly, part 3 is changing for the better. Overall, much of this was not simply reverse engineering what makes men successful or women successful, and then looking at what many women might be doing that could result in pitfalls of performance, then giving us the conclusions of those studies. It was a bit more than that. In the end, they talk about where the habits overlap with each other, which I love when authors do that. But the actual list itself of habits was fantastic, and the way they discussed the items on and how they pertain to the whole concept, it was very impressive. Would a woman rise to the occasion of checking this book out? I don't know, but as a man, I checked it out and I didn't regret it. Quotes. In order to rise, you have to lay your burden down. People who set very high standards for themselves usually set very high standards for others. Feeling and identifying your emotions gives you power. Reacting to what you feel squanders it. Direction 1. I'd recommend this book for anyone, especially a woman, who's wondering, is it because I'm a woman? Is there something I'm doing wrong that's maybe holding me back? Is there a way I can find some potential performance potholes? Potentially, I'd say it's quite possible this book could help you with that. Direction 2. If you like this book, I'd recommend checking out, here are a couple different ones. The Confidence Code by Claire Shipman and Katty Kay, The Female Brain by Luann Brizendine, Word Slut by Amanda Montell, and What Got You Here Won't Get You There by Marshall Goldsmith. This book I have not checked out myself, and if I haven't checked a book out, it's rare that I will recommend it, but I'm recommending this one anyway based on how much they talked about it and How Women Rise, and the fact that literally one of the authors of the book wrote it. How Women Rise by Marshall Goldsmith and Sally Helgesen. There's a link in the description if you guys want to check it out and read the reviews. That and all the other books that I mentioned in this video, if you want to check those out too. If there are any other books that you guys want me to check out and review, please let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know if you checked out this book and you liked it. But hey, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, because I don't get why people watch this far into my videos and they don't subscribe. But if you have subscribed and you want to turn it up just a notch and turn on that notification bell to get a notification whenever I drop new videos, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me everywhere and I will see you then.